Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Morning Devo with me, Beau. Hope you guys are well today and doing good. It is August 26th, and we're going to be in Leviticus chapter 10 today. We're talking about the priesthood. We're talking about baptism. We're talking about sanctification. We're talking about holiness. We're talking about substitutionary sacrifice, atonement, being made right with God, drawing near to God. All the things that you would think are Christian terms are actually founded in the book of Leviticus. And so this is a important book. This really gives us the understanding of so many things. Practically, it's really cool because we see that the priests are there to mediate between God and human beings, and that we certainly need a mediator. And Jesus, of course, is called our high priest in the Bible. He's our apostle and high priest. You don't need another apostle per se, and you don't need another high priest per se. You know, if someone's called an apostle or missionary, it's kind of with a small a, so to speak, right? Jesus is the big A apostle. He's the big P prophet. He's the big K king, kind of idea. But, practically speaking, too, it's neat to see the priesthood of Israel, the tribe of Levi, and just the various different works of the ministry that they're involved in. And the difficulty of it all, it's challenging. Ministry is not simple. It's difficult. There's challenges in every turn. It seldom runs incredibly smooth. There's people, and people get feelings hurt, and they have issues, and they got problems, and they think this way and they think that way, and we all do. And the priesthood was no different. They were human beings, descendants of Aaron. So chapter 10 is going to roll like this. Check it out. It says, Aaron's sons, Nadab and Abihu, put coals of fire in their incense burners and sprinkled incense over them. In this way, they disobeyed the Lord by burning before him the wrong kind of fire. Okay, so Nadab and Abihu get a little excited. They put coals of fire in their incense burners, and they sprinkle incense over all the fire, all the coals, and of course it goes up. And they probably think, man, this is a real good way to get the incense going. Of just, lighting the incense, worked, just check this out. It's like getting a barbecue together, right? Putting the coals on there and then putting incense on it and lighting it on fire. In this way, they disobeyed the Lord, right? And they burned this strange fire before the Lord, different than he had commanded. And it says, so fire blazed forth from the Lord's presence and burned them up, and they died there before the Lord. Oh, the difficulty of ministry, right? Gosh, can't I just serve the Lord any old way? Can I just, do what I want to do? Kind of go the way I want to go? That kind of idea, why can't I just do what I want to do? There's always this tough behavior that is so difficult for us human beings. In short, it's obedience. But I think you can kind of drill down into another word, and that is one of submission. That Nadab and Abihu didn't submit to God, obviously. They disobeyed the Lord's command. But they didn't listen to Moses or to their dad either, Aaron. And they kind of went rogue. And, well, they didn't kind of go rogue. They really did go rogue. Meaning they went their own direction. Man, submitted hearts are difficult to get to. I have to give up my prerogatives. I have to give up my rights. I have to give up, so much, right? In order to submit, come underneath. I have to be able to say, hey, I'm just a servant. I'm just serving the Lord. And so my ultimate allegiance is to the Lord. I might have thoughts. I might have, this is what I think. This is what I think should happen. This is how I think the Lord, it would be better if it was like this. God, why didn't you put someone in my life that would make this easy? Da 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 da. I could think all those things, but the bottom line is Nadab and Abihu, wanting to do things their way. And man, seldom does it work this way in life, with your kids, with your spouse, with anything, doing a house project, whatever it is, it seldom goes the way that you think. Workers don't work like you would like them to work. People don't act the way you would like them to act. People don't sing the songs you would like them to sing. People don't preach the sermons you would like them to preach. I mean, man, there's a lot right there. And maybe Nadab and Abihu thought like, hey, I see the incense altar and I see like how it's done, but maybe there's a better way to do this. Maybe there's something else, in my life, maybe, there's things that I'm calling right when it's really not good at all. Those are things I have to look at in my own life. Where's my heart? Do I find some Nadab and Abihu in me? And it says that Moses said to Aaron, this is what the Lord meant when he said, I will display my holiness through those who come near me. I will display my glory before all the people. So this is what is meant. You want to know what it means that God is holy? Well, it means he's going to judge. That's what it means. When you think of holiness, a lot of times we think of like, the Holy Grail, that kind of thing. Instead of thinking holiness is like, meaning it is pure and no defect at all. And like purification, like intense heat to purify a metal. That when holiness is applied to a sinner, when moral holiness is applied to you and you are unholy, you will be burned up. Whoo, man. Maybe that's a little insight into hell too, by the way. The everlasting fire, that if you don't want to be made holy through the remedy that God has provided, you will be consumed by holiness. Wow, that's a thought. And, refiner's fire, either God's holiness can purify you or it can destroy you, depending on what is your position. Has your sins been covered? If it hasn't been covered and you are in your sin, then you're going to face, what holiness is going to bring. It's going to bring that, in a practical way, real judgment on us. So sometimes when we talk about holiness, I don't think we understand quite the ramifications of the term or the word. That when something is holy, it's not just separated, it's not just different, but there is in a sense, a understanding that there is also other things that are unholy. And so there is a contrast. And that contrast, there is a conflict. And this is the big conflict in the Bible, by the way. Holiness and unholy. How do they go together? How can they come together? So it says, and Aaron was silent. Aaron didn't say a word, man. The dad didn't say nothing. And then Moses called for Mishael and Elzaphan, Aaron's cousins, the sons of Aaron's uncle Uzziel. And he said to them, come forward and carry away the bodies of your relatives from in front of the sanctuary to a place outside the camp. So they came forward and picked them up by the garments and carried them out of the camp just as Moses had commanded. Then Moses said to Aaron and his sons, Eleazar and Ithamar, do not show grief by leaving your hair uncombed or by tearing your clothes. If you do, you will die, and the Lord's anger will strike the whole community of Israel. However, the rest of the Israelites, your relatives, may mourn because of the Lord's fiery destruction on Nadab and Abihu. But you must not leave the entrance of the tabernacle, or you will die, for you have been anointed with the Lord's anointing oil. So they did as Moses commanded. Hey, you guys are already in your priestly garb. You're here to serve. Stay focused. Don't go nowhere. You know, sometimes you can hear Jesus, right? Let the dead bury the dead. Hey, you know what? You got a job to do, bro. You got to stay in it. You got to stay in the game. You got to go. You got to be there. You got to do it. You know, stay in the game. You know, hey, I want to go mourn with my relatives. I want to go do this. Well, you got to call, man. And you're in it. And when you're in it, you know, when you put your hand to the plow, don't be looking back. You could see Jesus's statements to the people in his day very much are like this. Meaning they carry the same kind of idea of, you know what? You're in the service of God at this moment. You stay right here. You have already put on your priestly garment. You've been anointed with the oil. You've gone through your baptism. You know, you've put on the clothes. Everything is holy. You are not going outside where the common is. You know, you are staying in the game. It's kind of that idea of don't go out back into the world and go doing your thing, right? Don't go back out. You know, you're in the game. Do you see the Christian scriptures that speak of that? You know, don't go backwards, right? We are not of those who draw back, right? We're those who move forward, right? We're those who are in the service to Jesus. Do you see how that's the principles there? And it says, then the Lord said to Aaron, you and your descendants must never drink wine or any other alcoholic drink before entering into the tabernacle. So it's not that they couldn't drink at all. They probably drank all the time. Wine obviously was something that was very common of the day. And it's obviously common of our day. But hey, man, when you're going to serve the Lord, hey, you might not want to be, you know, getting tanked. And that's a good idea. You know, for Christians, you know, we're in a sense, a constant service unto the Lord. So we got to be careful of what we partake of. You know, if you're a person who, you know, gets a little, you know, you're kind of starting to fall down after, you know, a sip of beer or something, then maybe it's best to stay away from that, right? So it says, you and your descendants must never drink wine or any other alcoholic drink before going into the tabernacle. If you do, you will die. This is a permanent law for you, and it must be observed from generation to generation. You must distinguish between what is sacred and what is common. And this is good, I think, for just Christians to do too. Meaning there's times to chill out. You have a barbecue, you're enjoying. And Jesus was beautiful like this. He had celebrations. He knew how to enjoy. He made water to wine. I mean, a lot of wine. Not just wine, but strong wine. Meaning, and Jesus wasn't saying, hey, get tanked, but he's saying, hey, the Messiah brings the best. You know, he always brings the best out. And that's cool. And, you know, we should learn how to be like Jesus. That when we're in a particular context, enjoy, have fun, celebrate, learn. Some Christians don't know how to do this. Unfortunately, they can't celebrate well. everything is kind of, dour and sour, or they don't know how to just enjoy life. Instead, everything's heavy and harsh and hard. And man, Jesus was beautiful like this, where he knew the context. He knew where he was at. And, how you were supposed to kind of go, what behavior you're supposed to have in those contexts. And it says, hey, you must distinguish between the sacred and the common, between what is ceremonially unclean and what is clean. And you must teach the Israelites at all decrees that the Lord has given them through Moses. You got to teach these things. You got to share it with them. There's things that are clean. There's things that are unclean. When you come into the presence of the Lord, there needs to be a cleanliness. There needs to be a holiness. There needs to be an atonement. There's things that need to happen. And when you leave the tabernacle in the presence, then, okay, you go into the baptism again, you take off the priestly robes, you take off all your garments, and you become common again. It's a change of status. That's what the idea of baptism is all about, And so, it's good for us to remember that there's different context, different things, different attitudes, attitudes should always be, of course, to want to honor God and please God. I mean, that should never change. But you know what I mean by context differences. If you're hanging out, at the bratwurst party in Germany, then, you're hanging out at the bratwurst party in Germany. Enjoy, have fun. I'm not saying get tanked. No. But what I'm saying is that you should be able to learn how to enjoy in that context. And even shine the light of Christ in that context. Yeah, the only way you can shine your light is in a church environment, in a church assembly, and that's kind of the only place your light is shining. Then, man, we got an issue, right? Because we're supposed to go out into the world, and we're supposed to let our light so shine. And notice it says, and you must teach the Israelites all the decrees. Then it says in verse 12, then Moses said to Aaron and his remaining sons, take what is left of the grain offering after a portion has been presented as a special gift to the Lord, and eat it beside the altar. Make sure it contains no yeast, for it is most holy. You must eat it in a sacred place, for it has been given to you and your descendants as a portion of the special gifts presented to the Lord. These are the commands I have been given. But the breast and the thigh that were lifted up as these wave offerings, it says, as a special offering, may be eaten in any place that is ceremonially clean. And it says, these parts have been given to you and your descendants as a portion of the peace offerings presented by the people of Israel. You must lift up the thigh and the breast as a special offering to the Lord. Along with the fat of the special gifts, these parts will belong to you and your descendants as your permanent right, just as the Lord has commanded. So keep doing the work. Stay in the game, right? Fight the good fight. Finish the race. Do you get that? Do you see that in the New Testament? Fight the good fight, Timothy. Finish the race. Man, don't give up. God hasn't given you a spirit of timidity, but of what? Power, love, sound mind. Right? Stay in there, Moses then asked them what had happened to the goat of the sin offering. And when he discovered it had been burned up, he became very angry with Eleazar and Ithamar, Aaron's remaining sons. Why didn't you eat the sin offering in the sacred area? He demanded. It is a holy offering. The Lord has given it to you to remove the guilt of the community and to purify the people, making them right with the Lord. Since the animal's blood was not brought into the holy place, you should have eaten the meat in the sacred area as I ordered you. Then Aaron answered Moses, today my sons presented both their sin offerings and their burnt offerings to the Lord, and yet this tragedy has happened to me. If I had eaten the people's sin offering on such a tragic day as this, would the Lord have been pleased? And when Moses heard this, he was satisfied. So you see, Aaron has to kind of give some reasons for why they're doing what they're doing. And it seems like Moses was satisfied. But you notice that there's some complications going on. You get early on, and this is what the big, I think, picture here is is that early on, things aren't going to go according to plan. Ministry, the Christian life, isn't going to go according to plan. Things aren't just going to go the way you want them to go. Not everything's going to be smooth. Not everything's going to work out just the way that it's supposed to work out. There is an ideal of the priesthood, and then there's the real. The ideal is to do everything the Lord has commanded. And that's true in the New Testament as well. There's an ideal to do everything the Lord is. Hey, be perfect as your heavenly Father is perfect. Flee youthful lust. Let there not be a hint of sexual immorality, right? Flee greed, free lust, free envy, free strife, right? Let there not be any of that, right? Right? Just totally, right? That's the ideal. But then there's the real. And what's the real? What's the real? The real is, look at us, right? You have imperfect priests going in trying to do the right thing. And some of them aren't doing the right thing, just transgressing, right? Just volitionally, blah, I'm going to do what I want to do. And then you have other ones that are, it seems like they're trying to figure it out, but oh man, I got the step wrong. Man, I messed that part up. Oh gosh, what's going to happen? And dad's got to come to the rescue. Hey, whoa, let's try to fix it. And there's just that kind of thing that goes on in life. And you know it, and I know it. And there's nothing we can do about it. There's just nothing we can do. People will be people. People are going to be the same tomorrow that they are today. Mostly. They're going to be the same person. They might have some behavior changes tomorrow or a week from now or 2 weeks from now. But it's hard to get everybody to do what you want them to do, isn't it? You can't control. You can't control the Nadab and Abihu's, and you can't control the other sons as well that are trying to do the right thing, it seems like. You just can't get it all together. I like, Tina, you're saying the pruning hurts. Yeah, it does. Because usually the pruning of the Christian life is really, it's us. It's easy for me to go, I wish this person did this, and I wish that person did that, and I wish this person did that. That's the easy part. Moses is probably in that situation where Moses is going, man, why did Nadab and Abihu wish they did this? And why wish Ithamar and the other guy would do this right? And da-da-da-da-da. And, and yeah, okay. Yeah, that'd be great. But it's just not how it rolls. So we learn early on in the ministry of the priesthood that even early on it doesn't go too well. And I imagine even in church life, I would expect that even in ministry, there's going to be some struggles and some difficulties and challenges with different people and different personalities and all that. But notice the wonderful Paul to Timothy, those books of Timothy, 1st, 2nd, and, Timothy, and, those really important pastoral epistles. The book of Titus as well in the New Testament is a pastoral epistle from pastor to pastor. And those are important because you see a lot of these principles. Don't give up. Stay in the game. Don't go running. You want to go do this. Boy, would I love to get away. Boy, would I love to give away. Instead of just learning how to serve the Lord. Am I learning how to serve the Lord? Not particular people per se, because people, let's say, we know it. People can be people. But serve the Lord. I'm going to do whatever I do, the best I can do with the grace he gives me and the mercy he gives me today. and do it unto the Lord. Now, isn't this what the New Testament teaches as well? Whatever you do, do to the glory of God. Right? Whatever you do, do to the glory of God. Not for eye service, not to please a person. It says in Colossians 3:17 and 23. Not to please, but to have your mind focus on God, and God alone. Hey, God, what do you want me to do today? You want to learn, teach me how to submit. You want to teach me how to surrender. Surrender everything, Lord. Help me to just do what's needed. We all have bosses. We all have things that we're told. We all have this. And I might not like it per se, but I'm going to learn to surrender and just be like, hey, I can do that. Man, I can do my best. I can do it in a prayerful attitude, in a joyful attitude. It's not about me, but it's about God. That's what the tabernacle is about. It's about God. Getting people's mind focused on the right thing. So very cool. Hey, okay. We will talk to you later. Woo, growth. Boy, that's a tough thing sometimes. Leviticus 10. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.